The Car Wash is a very well written, well animated episode of Rugrats, and something that I feel will be able to speak to a lot of children because car washes can seem quite scary. I didn't have a car for most of my childhood, and I don't remember going in a car wash that frequently. I think maybe twice. So I don't really have it as a strong memory of being a very young child, but even as an older child and as an adult, they're very loud. Very, very loud machines. This is the first segment of the seventh episode of the fourth season of Rugrats, and it starts off wonderfully with Chaz telling Stu about this new car wash, and Chuckie telling the babies about this car wash, and it keeps cutting back and forth between the two of them, and we get opposing views from each of them, and I think that was so beautifully executed and really helps to highlight how something may appear wonderful to an adult but terrifying to a child. And the babies decide to do a bit of exposure therapy with Chuckie. The babies were doing it out of love, Angelica was doing it to be mean to Chuckie, but they decide to create a mock car wash. And they put Chuckie through it, and it's not a lot of fun for Chuckie, but because they're using water and they're outdoors, they kind of accidentally get Chaz and Stu's vehicles very, very muddy. And that means they have to go back to the car wash. And the bulk of the rest of the episode, I'd say more than half of the episode, takes place primarily inside Chaz's car with the children in it, and they accidentally go through the car wash. And there are bits that are really exciting for them, but then there are bits that seem quite scary. And it really helps to show the different emotions that a child might go through when they go through a car wash. It wasn't as noisy in the episode than it often is in real life, but I appreciated that because I don't really like, loud noises, particularly if I'm listening to something, an episode with headphones, and all of a sudden we have this booming, grinding noise in my ears. No, thank you. So I appreciate that. Most of the fear came from the implements and the water and the foam, and there were some really sweet moments actually. So I guess I'll go into some specific things, although I will say one quote before I discuss one thing that might be a spoiler. But Tommy says quite early on, sometimes things are fun because they're a little scary. I love that. Being a big horror fan, I definitely know the appeal of scary things, but on your own terms. Controlled fear is a pretty great thing, and I really enjoy it. But I thought it was very well animated. The soap suds, the bubbles, the water, everything just looked brilliant. One thing that I thought was maybe a little unrealistic, this isn't really a spoiler, so it's fine. Angelica is trying to press a button in the car, and she can't because she's got her seatbelt on. But Angelica would 100% try and take off her seatbelt. Absolutely would try and do that. So I feel like that was a bit unrealistic, but had she been able to do that, the narrative would have went in a different direction. But I guess the last thing I have to say is a spoiler. It's about something Chuckie did that I thought was really moving. And this happens quite towards the end. So towards the end, Chuckie has the opportunity to press the button and alert his father that the babies are still in the car. And Angelica, quite interestingly, Angelica is telling him to do it, but the babies are saying don't. And he ultimately decides to not do it because his best friends want to ride in the car wash. And we see Chuckie having this moment of bravery for the sake of his friends. And it kind of reminded me of those times when I'm with somebody who wants to go on a roller coaster ride, and if you're just at a fun fair or a theme park with one other person, it's not really fair to say, no, you just go on by yourself. You stand in a queue by yourself for an hour and then go on alone. And you kind of have to be a bit brave. And I have been on several big rides that I otherwise wouldn't have wanted to go on. And it kind of reminded me of that. Because most fairground rides are probably as scary as car washes to some people. And yeah, Chuckie just had a very similar response to that. It is something that's scary, but his friends want to do it, and his friends think it'll be safe. So sometimes you have to just go for it. And I thought it was very sweet. It's not the first time we've seen Chuckie doing something for the sake of the others, but whenever we do, it's always really moving. Definitely a fun episode. Very, very well written. Very, very well animated. No complaints whatsoever.